Tonight, we are going to talk everything tactical. We're going to sit down and we're going to go through all the tactics that Manchester City are currently deploying and why. Why is Manchester City playing so-called boring football? We're going to get into it all tonight, right now, live on the Mancunian Way. Let's go. Good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way. I've just noticed something. I need to change that. I've just noticed that in there. I think I've just rinsed and repeat going on the scroller. There we go. Good evening for the second stream. First thing I'm going to do, apologise for my hair. It's a mess. I know it's a mess. It's the way it is, I'm afraid. I'm just going to change my background to, there we go. That's what I like. I'm live at the Etihad. Right, good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way. This evening we are going to talk everything tactical. This is carrying on from last night. And what I've seen going through a lot of Manchester City streams in general. There's a lot of talk about boring football and why we're doing this. And I've even heard Haaland's the problem. And it really isn't. There is method behind our boss's madness. 100%. Is some of it because of Haaland? Yes. That doesn't mean Haaland is the problem. Now, KARL's going to join me shortly, and we'll go through this because KARL, as you know, does training with Manchester City in the USA. And the reason why I wanted KARL on this one with me is because Manchester City play. I mean, I'll let KARL explain it more. They play generally the same way from under sixes, under sevens, and all the way through. And it's not just a UK thing. They're all trained the same way around the world. Now, there's a lot of this theory to why Manchester City are not playing sexy football. This free-flowing, winger, ball in, Haaland on the end, nodding in, and away we go football. Now, there is a reason to all this. And people talk about pace, people talk about being precise and everything else. And there's two words we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about vertical football, we're going to talk about controlling football. So good evening to everyone. I'm nice and chill, Captain Harris. Don't have everyone trying to jump in when you're trying to host the stream this evening. But no, I'm totally fine. It's been an emotional week. I'm just going to bring KARL in. Good evening, KARL.
Good afternoon, good evening. Good to be
Yeah,
here.
afternoon to you.
Your hair looks
Hello,
nice.
Blue Heart. Hope
Your
you
hair
are
looks
well. Thank you for joining. By the way, anyone who is joining us for a second time, big up yourself. Thank you.
Your hair looks
Welcome
nice.
again. It is quite good. Trust, but we've got to up the pace. That's the main point. We're going to explain to you tonight about this pace stuff. A lot of what Manchester City are doing at the moment is on purpose. And what we've done is we've gone back and we've looked at, or what I've done is, and KARL has as well, we've gone and looked at everything, even from Barcelona days to the start of the season. And it may also coincide why certain players are a little bit miffed at the moment. And obviously why João Cancelo was surplus to requirements. So good evening, KARL. How are you?
I'm well, mate. Good to be here again. It's been the Mancunian way today. It's been True City and Mancunian way today. Double dose of Mancunian way. Always good for my health.
The banners.
For those who don't know, right? Martin and I have this weird relationship. It's like we're brothers, right? And we love each other. We quarrel. We're like brothers, back and forth. I'm glad to be here, mate. Glad to be here.
Yeah, listen, we can argue all day, but we've all got the same thing. I heard on last stream something about banners. The banners are being made by the 1894, from what I understand. I think you could be able to buy flags and all that. I'll just take your old ones if you've got them for Sunday. Right, KARL. So let's get to the whole point of this evening.
Yeah.
Manchester City play boring, pedestrian football. Is the latest word on the street. And Erling Haaland's a problem. Why are we not playing fizzing balls over the top for people to run onto, etc., etc.? Shall we put that myth to bed?
Well, it's a weird one because, from the look of things, you would think that, City play boring football. If boring football is 53 goals in the league, then, I wonder what, the rest of the league is saying if that's boring. If boring football is having the world's best number 9 in the league scoring all those goals with De Bruyne giving the assists, I wonder what the rest of the league is going to say. If boring football is just being 5 points off Arsenal, you have 18 teams behind you, then I wonder what the rest of them are going to say. It's all contextual. We're comparing this season how we played to last season or the season before where we had a false 9. We don't have a false 9 now. And Martin, we can't expect Erling Haaland to play a false 9. That's not why we bought him.
No.
We bought him to be the guy in the box, where in those moments where we need a goal, we score. Now, granted, we lost the game against Tottenham, right? The truth is, in the past 3 years, with the false 9, we've lost to Tottenham every single year. 2-0, 1-0, 2-0, I believe. Every year. Okay? And it wasn't because we didn't score. It wasn't because we were worse than Tottenham. It was because we made stupid mistakes. I went back, Martin, I watched every single loss to Tottenham in their new stadium. Every single loss. And every goal we conceded was because we made stupid mistakes. Rodri last one there. Year before it was Cancelo. Year before that it was Zinchenko with a stupid red card. I remember all those. Sergio Aguero missing a penalty. Ilkay Gundogan missing a penalty. Just stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've changed the way we play, and we've changed the way we play for a reason. And I know you're going to get into that in a minute.
Yeah, and the simple fact is, there's been a lot of words spoke about control and chaos.
Yeah.
I'm just double checking. Am I lagging with anyone? Because loads of people have
No, you're fine. You're fine.
just lost about 10 views, 10 viewers. No, no wondering why. Anyway, if it is lagging, let me know in the comments for anyone. Just maybe refresh your stream. It may help. At the start of the season, Manchester City were not playing this three sort of when I mean the very beginning of the season, we got to look. No, in fact, we got to look back a little bit more to last season. Let's start last season. And for the 2 years previous, we had a fluent false nine system.
Correct.
And what we were playing was, if you look, and I beg people to go back to, do you remember the West Brom away game a year or two ago?
Yeah.
When I think we won, was it 5 or 6-0? And we absolutely destroyed them.
Away.
Yeah. And a lot of it was all about everyone was swapping positions. Everyone was what I like to call interchangeable.
Correct.
So at 1 minute you had from Sterling from right wing to left wing to front. You had Foden from wing to mid to centre. You even had Cancelo joining in the number 10 role at some
Correct.
stage.
Correct.
So everyone was fluent. It was basically these are kind of your roles, but going into change as you want.
And Martin, just to piggyback on that point, again, we're talking coaching. The reason why you play a false nine is for one reason only. You want to overload one side of the field to create a hole in the middle of the field so somebody can pop in there.
Yes.
And anybody from that front five can pop in there based on who's on the ball, who's off the ball. The idea behind the false nine is to overload one side of the field to create a hole centrally where someone can pop in. That's the whole idea.
And you also look in terms of, you look during these seasons, we look at the goals for people. You had Foden on, was it 10 to 15 goals? You had Kevin De Bruyne chipping in with 15 or 20 goals. You had Sterling chipping in with 20 goals. Everyone was, if you look at the goals, they were all shared around. And that's because everyone was having a go. It was everyone's job to score because we had what they call a focal point. Now, we had Sergio Aguero as well, but at this time, Sergio Aguero was injured. But and I'm going to go back even a little bit further here. Sergio Aguero, when Pep Guardiola first came to the club, had to change his game. Because what Sergio Aguero used to do was bang exactly the same as, for example, an Erling Haaland does right now. Stayed in the box, balls came in, and he was there. Bang, bang, bang. Goal, Johnny on the spot.
Yeah.
What Pep Guardiola would say to Aguero, we need you to start dropping deeper into the midfield, come in helping out your midfield, winning the ball, and what coaches like to call a give and go. You give, you turn, you go. And then you create the space. Exactly what KARL has said.
Right.
Because in football, it's all about creating space. When you see people dragging out position, the idea, they're not coming out of position, they're dragging the opposition out.
Correct.
Especially, you'll find this when you get low blocks and banks of 4 and 5.
Yeah.
What you've got to do is you have got to make a gap because they're told by their coach, line up, don't move, keep it as tight as you possibly can. What you've got to do is find that gap. And sometimes you've got to create the gap yourself.
I mean, Martin, one of the things that we tell the kids is that as a footballer in the City system, you are a magician, meaning you can create space and time. You have the ability by using the ball and moving into position to create space and time for yourself or for your fellow teammate. And they get excited about that. Oh, I'm a magician. I can create space. Yes, you can. You can create space and time by how you move around, how you position yourself on the field with the ball.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea, Martin, just to piggyback on that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, during the stream, we will take some questions as well. If you want to ask anything about players, tactics, whatever you want to do. And we're not saying we know it all. We're just giving our perspective,
our opinions,
on what we're seeing currently. And it might, you might understand why I'm a bit calmer, why I'm not as Oh, it's boring. And can I just ask a question to you, Carl? Because I've noticed this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of we're playing backwards football. We're playing the ball backwards. And what I've done is through the love of City TV and City Plus and all this, I've gone back and watched other games from Pep Guardiola. And because I thought to myself, am I seeing things? Is it something I'm missing in terms of I've noticed that I've always played the ball backwards.
Yes.
We've always done sideways passing. We've always done from left to right, right to left.
Yes.
So why is it all of a sudden now such a more? Why is it a problem to a lot of people then? This is
Because
maybe what I
in
can't
people's
figure out.
minds, because in people's when we played, backwards back in 17-18, we have the alternative of having Sani and Sterling who are quick as wingers. Okay, now we have Jack and we have Mahrez who are not as quick, who's not as dynamic. We played with natural wingers, so the decision making was quicker. Now we play with inverted wingers, so it's a little slower because Jack has to come back on his right foot, Riyad has to come back on his left foot, and they come into traffic, it gets a little blocked. It's a little slower, right?
Yes.
With Sani and Sterling, natural left and right, very wide, very quick movement. You have David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne in the pockets, in the half spaces, bang, boom, 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 goal, right? And then teams weren't used to the way we played. Remember, in 16-17, we weren't playing like that. We tried to play like that, but we weren't as good. But all of a sudden, in 17-18, we have this dynamic City that blew everybody away, right? Creating chances. But at the same time, too, in the big games against Liverpool, guess what? We lost 4-3, 3-0. Why? Because the fast transition or verticality also creates the opportunity to lose the ball, and you get counter-attack, you concede goals.
And we also lost in the Champions League.
Correct. 3-0.
Go back to the Real Madrid game, especially the one away. There was a lot of if you remember at the time, we were always bombing forward. Even when we went 1-0 up in that game, thanks to Mahrez, if you remember, even though we did take KDB off, if you remember, we still had a lot of chances. We were still going. And if you go back and watch especially the goals from Real Madrid in the last few minutes, João Cancelo was caught out for the simple fact is, and there was a lot of, and I remember doing the stream at the time, and everyone was, the defense is all over the place. There's no sort of direction. Everyone's just gone. Because you had Grealish going, there was, I think, Mahrez, I'm not sure Mahrez, but whoever was there, they were going. All the time it was go. And I genuinely believe Pep Guardiola has looked at all this. You mentioned about Liverpool. Manchester City always got caught on the break a lot against quick, like you say, transitional teams you had. And we didn't, and it also comes back to a quote that I'm going to read later on about Pep Guardiola's obsession with control. I am going to ask you a quick question, Carl.
Yep.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
You put something up on Twitter the other day.
Yes.
How did Pep play at Barcelona?
So I went into the archives. I was digging. This is what I do, right? I mean, I'm just obsessed with this club, man. It's terrible. So I go into the archives and I find this graphic about how Pep and Cheeky played together under Johan Cruyff. And I don't know if you have that right. And what they actually played, they played a back three, a front three, and instead of a box that we play today, they actually have a diamond, so 4 in the middle of the park. And what would happen normally is in the build-up play, you always have one of the diamond drop back to help Guardiola centrally. So now you have a box, right, where we're building out. It's always a 3 and a 2. Very similar to what we do today. We have a 3 and a 2. It's either Rico and Rodri, and it's Ake, it's Laporte, or it's somebody else, or Stones, right? But the same philosophy that they played under Cruyff is what he's trying to play here. Now, and then you had Laudrup as a number 9. Now, I think it's right. Laudrup is very similar, right, to Erling Haaland. Typical number 9 who finishes goal. I believe it was left-footed or so, right? Typical. And Cheeky was one of the midfielders who used to play with Pep, right, and drop back as well, making that too. So this is the philosophy that he's used in his time with Barcelona. The very first time that they won the Champions League. The very first time they won the Champions League, right? This is what they used. Koeman, Guardiola, right? It was 1982 or 1984 against Sampdoria. I think it was Sampdoria or some Italian club. This is how they won their first UCL. They tried different systems before. Transition, direct, verticality, never succeeded. In the year that they played this system, it got them to the final because they were very, very, very controlled. They were a little slower, but they were controlled. And then he had the killer in Laudrup up front, I believe, to win, who got them goals.
Well, what I've done is I've gone back to the start of the season and I looked at different games. I looked at the West Ham game. I've looked at the Newcastle game, especially the Newcastle game, because in my head, I'm desperately thinking the Newcastle game is where all this came from. And I've also looked at the Crystal Palace game. And I've looked at the back line, especially the back line. The first few games, it was always Kyle Walker, João Cancelo. And if we go back to the Newcastle game especially, Pep Guardiola, if you remember, was very, very angry after that game. He was a bit that. And I thought, we've come down from 3-1 down. What's he upset about? And I went and watched it again. And I watched St. Maximum. If you remember, St. Maximum destroyed Kyle Walker that day.
Yeah.
And I sat there going, Kyle Walker wouldn't normally get. This is a guy who can keep Mbappe quiet. But what's happened here? Yeah. And like you say, you look at the invertedness.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's be clear, Martin. Again, if you look at, and you're absolutely right, Martin, because if you watch that game, right, even against West Ham, we did the same thing where Walker and Joao were inverted as a 3 next to Rodri. So all of a sudden, we're playing 2 center backs, 3 inside, and then a 5 up front. So when you lose the ball with those 3, which Walker was losing the ball, all of a sudden there's space to the left and to the right of the center backs, which Maximin ran into all the time, right? So Pep is compensating for that by adding 1 more center back to stop that transition and defend with a 3. And they use Rico as a center, as a second one, or use Bernardo as a center one next to Rodri to help make it a 2. So he's basically saying, I want to still keep some control. I don't want to concede 3 goals a game and tie the game.
Yeah.
Or concede 2 to Palace.
He had no control in that Newcastle game.
Correct. None.
There was no control whatsoever. Now, the big thing, Pep came out with a quote after the one of the Wolves games. And he talks about how what happens is if you have everybody coming forward, so if you have Bernardo, for example, KDB, Gundogan, and they all come forward, and then your back line comes forward. And if you do that too quick, what then happens is, so for example, you start breaking away, balls over the top. What happens is, if you don't finish that chance at that time, what happens?
Transition to death.
What happens is they just go, thanks very much.
Bang.
I'm out of position, you're out of position, and away we go. And they go, and they just break on you straight away. What Pep is doing is, looks very slow and methodical and possibly a bit boring. But the simple fact is right now, the players are delaying. They're delaying because they're waiting for everybody else to be ready to go. We move as a unit. A whole 10, won't say 11, whole 10 go as one, they go back as one. Because if we just start throwing a ball down the wing, ball over the top, and they just go, thanks, head that away, you're outnumbered in midfield. Your centre-backs have come forward up to the halfway line, and it's no good. Go back to the Palace game. The Palace game was the perfect, and Newcastle were the perfect examples of all of those. It was just break, 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 and away you go. And Pep sat there going, have no control here. They've just all gone together, and what do we do? And I think people have to realise another big problem that we've got is, do we have the players that, if you said to Pep, seriously, have you got all the players you want to play your system? He'll tell you no. Because if you go back to that season, if you remember, we had this chat, didn't we, Carl? You had Bernardo right wing, Cole Palmer had a go right wing, Mahrez has played right wing. I'm trying to think of everyone else. Foden's had a go right wing. Cancelo's played right hand side. I think it's like 6, 7 different people on that one side.
Yes.
The left hand side doesn't get really maneuvered a lot because it's
Not
always
much.
been Grealish.
Yeah.
But the right's been like the experimented area. and I think where Pep start himself is, sadly, Kyle Walker's 32. Kyle Walker has trained all his life just to go up, down, up, down, up, down.
Yep.
So coming to midfield for Kyle Walker and to make that 4 up, and there's also, we're going to come on to that, why we do that is because when we had the false 9, you had a midfielder who went in and went on the attack.
Extra man
filled in.
Yep.
Now you don't.
You don't.
To get Erling Haaland in, now I'm going to be careful what I say here because I don't want to say Erling Haaland's the problem because he's not. This is not an Erling Haaland problem. Erling Haaland is not a Aguero, a Harry Kane. Now, I mention Harry Kane for the simple fact of, not because he's better than Haaland, because he's not. Harry Kane
is 29 years old.
Yes. There was a reason Harry Kane was wanted by Pep Guardiola, probably straight away, was because there wasn't a lot of training, adapting he probably had to do. Because Harry Kane, if you look for Spurs, comes back into midfield. Kane does what Aguero does. Comes back in, receives, gives, goes, does it for England. Haaland doesn't do that as much. Will Haaland learn that? Yes. But he's only been with us since August, and we're now in February.
Yeah.
He's allowed more than 6 months to adapt to that. So do the players.
No, you're right. I mean, Harry Kane is 29. He's been playing for Spurs for God knows how long. All right. Erling Haaland is 22. Been here for 6 months, and you expect him to drop deep and distribute the ball like Harry? That's not going to happen. Harry wasn't doing that at 21 or 22. But I can tell you what, Harry wasn't scoring goals like Erling Haaland is at 22 years old. And to your point, I think
Wi-Fi 1 sec. Well, I'm all right now.
Yeah, okay now. Yeah, and the reason why we play this 4 box in the mid is because, again, to your point, we used to play the false 9. We had extra man to cover and hold the ball and pass the ball. Now we have Erling Haaland, who is a penalty box predator. And so we need to keep some control and make sure we have an extra body in there to play that 4 in the midfield versus a team's 3, for example. Right? That's what we need to do. If you watch the Arsenal game, what was interesting in the Arsenal game was that Arsenal went man-to-man against City. And the only outlet, right, was Erling Haaland against the Arsenal's central defender and the ball from the goalkeeper. That was it. So Haaland had a lot of touches on the ball because they kept pinging the ball to him. Because Pep didn't want to lose control in the middle of the field because they're going man-to-man. Arsenal going man-to-man.
Yeah. And that is part of we don't have this. I mean, I've heard people talk about wingers, but why are we not just winging down the line, putting balls across for Haaland to get into? But one, we don't have wingers anymore. Number 2, if you do that, you're going to lose control because you're throwing down the thing, ball over the top. You are basically saying Haaland has to get to the ball straight away. Because if Haaland misses, like I said, and they break, there's gaps.
Well, and there's another thing too, Martin, and I thought about this a lot, is Erling Haaland has come in, and Erling Haaland is a very vertical player, verticality, likes to drive to the box, right?
Yep.
Our team last year under the false 9 was very controlled. We scored a lot of goals, but we're very, very controlled.
Yeah.
Now we're transitioning. We're trying to figure out how to move from this controlled environment to be more vertical with Erling in the squad. That takes time to adapt. Doesn't happen overnight. You'll see it in some games where we'll batter the opposition. United at home, 6-3. Forest at home, 6-0. Palace, 4-2, right? That's when it works perfectly. But there are other games where they're not quite at it, it's not quite working, and it looks dodgy. That's because we're transitioning to that vertical play with control that Guardiola wants, in my opinion.
But this is why me and you had this massive debate all season about Grealish, didn't we? And I was always saying Grealish wasn't the problem. Grealish was doing exactly what he was told. Because I even had it in the stadium, people go, Grealish just going backwards all the time. He's just going backwards all the time. Wasn't that, if you look at where Grealish was, there was only Haaland there. He's waiting for people to come in, catch up. And Pep Guardiola has always had a philosophy. If there is no, I used to do it as a coach myself. And I learned this from Pep, watching him. If there's nothing on, go back, restart again.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not the most exciting football, but sadly, someone mentioned in the comments, I think it was Brian, we don't have a David Silva anymore. We haven't got anyone who can unlock a tight defense. Bernardo Silva is more a warrior than he is a creator. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, can do it, but the trouble is he's 32 into 33, 32, 30, maybe 31. Maybe I'm doing him an injustice. But go back, and this is my point in KDB. At the start of the season, everyone's going, well, the start of the season, it worked. We had Erling Haaland scoring goals for fun. Where was 90% of Erling Haaland's goals coming from, KARL?
De Bruyne.
De Bruyne.
Yeah. De Bruyne.
De Bruyne was the one putting the balls in all the time. So what we're saying is when De Bruyne stops doing that, or De Bruyne has a bad spell, and Pep's mentioned it in press conferences, we need others to step up.
Correct.
We need others to step up.
Correct.
If they're not willing to step up, or we haven't quite got that level of player at the moment, then we just have to try and do what we can do. Sadly, and I know it's frustrating. I know people, everyone thought, and I swear I did. We looked at last season, we thought, oh, this is great. This ball's in all the time. Oh, we need a striker. And everyone thought Haaland was plug and play. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
It's not just Haaland goes in and everyone just starts overloading and away we run. It's not that simple. It's what we've allowed to happen is Mahrez is 31, 32. Kyle Walker's 32. KDB's 31. Gundogan's 31, 32. A lot of our players have not, I'm not going to say not come out their peak, because I think they're still in it. KDB's still world class for me, but they're coming to the latter stages of it. And all I've ever said every stream is just let us get to the summer. This will all be addressed. There was a reason Jude Bellingham, City have pushed so hard for this lad. And me again, we've had another debates on this, haven't we, KARL? and I think KARL misunderstood what I was meaning at the beginning, and I didn't understand what KARL was. And I think we came to an understanding because, well, I'll let you explain it, KARL, where we landed.
Yeah, so we you know, it's the disagreement was I was looking at Jude as Jude in Dortmund, where they
Gundogan, a Bernardo replacement, yeah,
right, as a Bernardo or Gundogan replacement, and that was my idea. I want someone who's creative, who's good on the ball, who can be like David Silva, who can be like maybe like a Frankie de Jong kind of type, and neat on the ball, silky sweet, that kind of player. But what Martin, and I was saying, well, Jude is a transition player. He's just a transition guy. That's what he does. Just transitions. We don't need him. And the argument Martin made, and I always say is you make a superior argument, I will always back you, right? Was, well, De Bruyne is a transition player, isn't he? He's probably one of the best in the Premier League. That's what he does. He's a transition guy who gives that final ball to Erling Haaland or Sergio Aguero or Leroy Sané to score a goal. I'm like, hell yeah, that's true. He is a transition player, De Bruyne. So if De Bruyne's replacement ultimately is going to be Jude Bellingham, and Jude is a transition player, well, isn't that kind of what we need? And that's where it clicked with me and saying, oh, maybe actually Jude is the guy we need to ultimately replace De Bruyne in that role when he gets older, or take minutes off him once in a while, or rotate with him once in a while so he can be fresh for other games as well. Maybe he is that guy. And then maybe we can play a Foden for like a Bernardo, or play a Foden for Gundogan later on as he matures. Maybe that's a plan. And so that's how we came to the agreement, basically about
I'm not saying Bellingham will 100% sign. We just know the club are in for him. That's up to Jude now what he wants to do. The offer's on the table. It's down to Jude what he wants to do. We hope he makes the right decision, from our point of view anyway. But the simple fact is, this squad does need slightly change. Pep Guardiola came into this season. You have Bernardo Silva, who's now again made it quite clear he probably wants out. João Cancelo's done what he's needed to do. We know Laporte isn't overly happy. We know that there's some players not quite there at the moment. Phil Foden, we know, has other stuff going on, and we wish him the best, sort that out. But when you have that many players just stop, I'm not even going to say stop. What's the correct word of saying it? Not be 100% focused. What do you do then? We don't have this.
You have to adapt.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't got this huge, massive squad. But my whole point of this tonight is, on the reason I want to talk about tactics, is because this 3-box-3 or this 3-2-2-3 that we commonly play is for one reason and one reason only: control.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's times like Tottenham recently where you like to call it, KARL, we throw a little bit of chaos into that. And that chaos is Julian Alvarez. Now, for me personally, right now, I think Julian Alvarez is more of an impact player off the bench than I would start him. Simply because, again, he's adapting. I think he's a superb footballer, a wonderful talent, World Cup winner, deservedly. But I look at him in the Premier League, and I've said this to you, KARL, as well. I still think he's got to get a little bit stronger, a little bit more physical. But that will come with time. I genuinely believe that. But here's another thing: to bring a Julian Alvarez in, what do you have to do, KARL?
De Bruyne has to leave.
You have someone from the midfield has to come out.
Yeah.
Mahrez and Grealish are the two there for the control, for the steadiness. Keep the ball, keep the system tight as you can. The midfield come and catch up. The defense come with you, and it's all done in a transactional way. It's not just go, 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 go. Everyone go. And I noticed it more is because I sat there going, it was when John Stones played fullback.
Yeah.
I sat there one game and I thought, John Stones is running next door to Mahrez. Why is Mahrez not gone? Why is Mahrez not just gone?
Yeah.
And then you play the ball down the thing, and I'm like, and then I looked at the other side of the field, and there was gaps all over it. Yeah. And I thought, that's why there's too many gaps that can be exploited if we lose the ball. The one thing you got to remember as a coach, there's one rule I used to always have: if you can't score a goal, you make sure you don't concede.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even for the kids that I coach now, even last season we talked about it, right? I play a 3-box-3. That's what I play because I know that I need an extra body in midfield because most of the goals with kids comes through the middle. right? Unless they're like super academy kids where they play out wide. Most of the balls are lost to the center. So if I can play 4 in the middle of the park, all of a sudden I have more control. If I have
I
more
mean,
control, I have more
Daniel
freedom.
makes a great point here. Arsenal literally play the same formation. They play 3-2-2-3 with Zinchenko. Because Zinchenko steps into that midfield role.
Correct. Correct.
But the difference is, like you just said, you've got more energetic, pacey people on the wing
Correct.
who are younger,
Correct.
hungrier. We
Correct.
don't have that.
Correct. Correct.
Maybe in the summertime, I mean, you hear the leaks of Leao and Saka and all these people they want. But Pep Guardiola is not going to change his system. This is my whole point here. Pep Guardiola is not going to change his system. What he will do is he's buy personnel to suit the system. He'll buy the personnel to suit that system. We have to come out of this mindset of false nine, interchangeable, quick, go, go. Because there's no control in that. It's chaos. It is 11, it's 90 minutes to just chaos and away we go. There's been a question, KARL, about the defence. Because there's been a lot of questions about we're conceding a lot more goals this year than ever before. And that seems to worry a lot of people. I remember a quote Pep said about we will end up conceding more goals. I think that was after Newcastle as well. It's funny how it all comes back to one of the 2 or 3 different games that all seem to flap. Maybe it's me, I don't know. I mean, do you want to talk to him about this defense situation? Why are we conceding more goals?
Because because we're losing the balls more than we did on the false nine system. It's simple. When you lose the ball more, essentially, you concede more goals. In the false nine system, you had, Foden playing the false nine, or Grealish playing the false nine, or De Bruyne playing the false nine. You had more control. More control.
This is it, Lewis Yates. More like 2 at the back with Ake left back, Kanji right back, and massive gaps in centre backs.
That was during the Newcastle game and the Newcastle game.
Yeah, we keep going back to Newcastle, don't we?
Well, it's changed since then, though, right? It's changed since then. I mean, if you ask me who I think the best back 3 players are, if they were all fresh and they were all fit, I think the best back 3 would probably be Stones, Laporte, and probably Nathan Ake on the ball.
Yeah.
The problem you have there is, if you're playing against a PSG or a quick Salah, Walker has to play because of his pace. Who do you drop? So for each game, you compromise on who I play, who I don't play, what are the strengths, what are my weaknesses, what am I trying to achieve? How do I make sure that, I'm balanced? I'm spending right now, the past 2 days, I have a game tomorrow morning, Martin. One of my players, my number 6, one of my best players, CDM, right, can't play tomorrow. So I'm trying to figure out who's going to be part of the double 6 in the middle of the park tomorrow. I'm struggling. Because if I take one center back and I play that center back there, I lose something behind. How do I compensate for that? Yeah. These are decisions you have to make as a coach.
There's a reason we bought. I always think Pep's always had this in mind. Go back to the Akanji deal. We all sat there and went, why another centre back? Now, at the time, Laporte was out.
And not a fullback.
Exactly. We were all, why not a fullback? And it was, Akanji's come in because I think this 3 at the back was always the plan.
Yeah.
This 3 at the back was always going to be there. And sadly, that did make Cancelo and Walker, not so much Walker, I think Cancelo more surplus to requirements at the moment. Because Cancelo can't do what a Rico Lewis does, for example. I think Rico Lewis has played this 3-box-3 from under 7s, is it? Under 7s, under 8s, from the 9s, all the way through.
Yes.
So that's why he's always looked so comfortable just slipping in there.
Yes.
Now, yes, should he play every single game at 18? No. But that's when you can bring in a little bit of chaos. Vader has a question for us. As a coach, when do you get most worried? When your team is defending, whereas the most threatening positions on the pitch, from your midfielders and why?
As a coach, when I get most worried when my team is defending, when are the most I get most worried when I see that my midfield does not have the control they need. That's when I get worried because that puts pressure. My backline, for example, is not the best. In fact, it's the weakest part of our team, to be fair. Right? Again, three box three. It's the weakest part of our team, the back three.
Yeah.
The strongest part, obviously, are the front three. They're deadly. But the middle, the four in the park, in the middle of the park, are so good on the ball that they're able to win. If that collapses, I get really worried. There was a game, Martin, where against our rivals, where they were up 3-1 in 20 minutes. Battered us 20 minutes, 3-1, because we lost control in the middle of the park. And so we went in halftime, we talked to them what they need to do, explain to them that they play to their level, don't be afraid. Game ended 5-3 because the midfield four, right, took control of that game.
Yeah.
Pressed high, won the ball high, one touch, two touches, bang, bang, 5 goals. That's when I get the most worried. And I can make a similar argument that under the Guardiola team, the reason why we're conceding goals is because the four are not controlling as much as they can control. And they're losing balls in transition.
Yes. There you go. What's Pep Guardiola? Pep Guardiola's always wanted what, KARL? 11. If he had his ideal thing, I've always said, if you ever look at a Guardiola team, he never throws an 18-year-old into a CDM role. I never throws an 18-year-old. We've always talked about why has Foden never gone into that centre mid on the regular. It's always been a 28, 29. Go back to Barcelona at the time. He had his reliable threes, Xavi, Busquets, and Iniesta.
Yep.
And they didn't move.
Didn't move
At all from as they got older and older. They never moved.
Yep.
Because to that position on a pitch for Pep, especially in Pep ball, is the linchpin to the whole system.
Yeah.
If that midfield does not work or cannot move that ball to where it needs to go, the rest of the system breaks.
Yeah.
And someone made a great point about is it injuries to our back line that's caused a lot of it? John Stone's in and out.
I would say that's
he has been out.
That's a fair argument, yes.
And yeah, I'm going to say I would bang on. I would agree with that.
Yep.
I genuinely do believe we've not had a settled back line to do what he wants to do.
I would agree with that.
I mean, ideally, who is your best back line?
Oh,
who is your?
Whew. See, oh my goodness. I mean, my preference would be Laporte, Stones, Diaz. Ake's been wonderful, but if everybody's in form and fit, UCL final, that's the three for me.
Laporte. So again, you've got Stones.
I'm playing Stones right.
Yeah.
Diaz central, Laporte left.
Okay.
If everybody's fit and well, that's
John Stones. I'm with you because I think he's the best ball playing centre back we have.
Stones is the glue that holds it all together.
To me, he's the most underrated centre back in world football.
I agree.
It's just remarkable.
Yeah.
Laporte. I don't know what's happened to Laporte at the moment. Again, we've nicknamed him in the Mancunian way the Grumpy Five. It's now down to the Grumpy Four. I don't know. I don't. With Laporte, the only thing I can think of is just playing time. The guy wants to play. And you've got to remember as well, when they are, how old's Laporte? 27, 26?
Yeah.
Something like that. These are what they call his crucial years. These are his ball playing years. The best time of his years.
Yeah.
Of course he wants to play.
Yeah.
He wants to play week in, week out. Ruben Diaz, I don't know. That at the moment is a mystery to me. He's been on the bench 5 times. We've been told he's fit as a fiddle, and he's not even getting 5 minutes of football. So, if anyone wants to ask me about Ruben Diaz, I don't know. That
Yeah,
I don't know. Hopefully he'll play tomorrow, Sunday. 28 superior being, thank you. That makes it
it's time for him to play. It's time for him to play.
He's got to play now, Diaz.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got to play. I just think we've come to a situation where we're playing players in the system that suits us best for Erling Haaland in terms of, but we are playing with what we've got. I don't think right now we've got the players we want to do this. All I would ever ask is be patient. We will sort it out. 100% sort it out. I don't think we're ever going to go to this false nine system
No,
where
not with
it's
Erling
quick.
Haaland. Not with Erling Haaland.
And do you know what? I do get it. Because when we watch Sane, Sterling in that Centurion season with Aguero in the middle or Gabby, it was a delight. Don't get me wrong.
It was sweet to watch.
It was outstanding. But I think we just have to face the fact we're not going to do that anymore.
But Martin, but to that point too, it was great to watch. But in the Champions League against Liverpool, 3-0. At home, 2-1. Right? And then we begin the transition to more control. We're playing inverted wiggers in 18-19. Still got 98 points, but we had more control. I think that 18-19 season blueprint is what Guardiola is trying to get to again. Where you have more control, but you also have the lethalness of the attack to win games 14-15 on the bounce. We lost games in that season too. Like at Newcastle, we lost games, crazy games. I think it was Palace at home. We lost some weird games, right? Still got 98 points because we closed the season that well, because we adapted.
Yeah.
I think that's what he wants to recreate again with Erling Haaland, because Aguero was on fire that season. And he would play Laporte sometimes at left back that season, remember? Because of the injury to Benjamin Mendy.
I mean, I always go back to remember United when we played an assault when they played Solskjaer, and it was balls over the top all the time.
Yeah,
and we were always caught out with balls over the top. Tottenham last year at home, caught out again by balls over the top.
Yep.
And I think we're just in a situation where Pepper's decided he's going to be a bit tighter, going to be a bit more controlled. And is it boring football?
No. It's functional.
Yeah. See, do you know where I find it hard to say it's boring football, Carl? When we're still top goal scorers in the league.
That's the problem.
This is where I fall down on this boring football, because we've still beat Forest 6-0. We scored 4 against Tottenham. We've scored 6 against Wolves. 3 away, 3 at home. So we've scored goals. Is it as quick? No.
It's going to take time to get to that quickness again. It takes time.
Yeah. I mean, honest question, is 3-2-2-3, 3-box-3. Is it here to stay for you?
I think it is, mate. I think that's what he's used to. That's his ultimate. That's what he's trying to create. The Cruyffian way, right? Total football.
Mm-hmm.
When it clicks, by God, it's. Remember the Barcelona days where Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, and Messi, the 4 of them, used to just, and then Daniel was talking to midfield, Abidal was talking to midfield. They would control the game for stretches, 60 minutes. They would literally just move and pass the ball. That's what he's trying to get to, in my opinion. The evolution of City to become that kind of football team.
I am probably, I mean, Vegas put it, and I've seen a lot of people say this, is this style of build-up play more suited to the Champions League?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And you know what? Maybe that's the goal here.
Let me give you some examples. Do you remember the game that we played away at Copenhagen where Gomez gets sent off? Right? Gomez gets sent off. We're down a man for probably 60 minutes or more. We control that game 0-0. Now, you may laugh and say it's Copenhagen away, but Let's be clear, you're there in the Champions League for a reason. There may not be City quality, but we still control the game away. We go play with Sevilla. We go to Dortmund, right? Control the game. I believe it was a tie, 0-0. I believe it was a 0-0. Yeah, 0-0.
Yeah.
Controlled. And when you go away in the Champions League, if you don't concede a goal, you're halfway there, coming back home. So this is more
Great
suited,
point.
to his point, to the UCL. Chelsea won the Champions League by doing what? By being in control and taking one chance. That was it. That's how they beat Madrid. That's how they beat us in the final, right? In that final, we lost control because Zinchenko wasn't covering for Gundogan. If you watch that game again, Zini was supposed to be next to Gundogan when that ball comes through from Mount to Havertz. He wasn't there. He was out of position. So now Gundogan was alone. It was 1v1, and it was a goal.
There was another game I wanted to bring up where I think, where I actually think this fully, where Pep went, screw this, I'm going to go straight about Rico. Remember the Brighton game at home?
Yeah.
Where we won 3-1.
Yeah.
But we had no control in that game.
Yeah.
If you remember it. Remember Trossard destroying Akanji all day long?
Yeah, he was caught out of position. He was up the field.
Yeah. Cancelo, way out the position. Go back to the Fulham game. Cancelo caught out position, got the red card.
Yeah.
This is where it is down to. It's all about control of the ball.
Yeah.
If you can't control your own destiny, you can't win games like that.
Yeah.
This is what Pep is saying. And I came away from that Brighton game going, that's the best team to come to the Etihad in about 4 years.
Oh, Brighton are brilliant, man.
I thought they were phenomenal that day.
Brighton are brilliant, mate.
Yeah, I thought they were phenomenal. And it was not only that, they had more possession than us. I think that was the first time that's happened in about 4 years.
Brighton are brilliant, mate. Telling you, don't be surprised if they make Europa League this year.
Yeah. And the thing is, I look at really important points in the season and I think Newcastle, Villa away, Brighton at home, Fulham at home. And you think to yourself, do you know what? I'm starting to see where Pep's going here. Because I look at them games, Fulham were very good that day. And you had Brighton, best team I've seen at the Etihad in a long time. Newcastle, tore as a new one. We were probably lucky to come away with 3-3 in the end. Crystal Palace at home earlier on in the season. And all of it is when Cancelo or Walcott have always been there. I genuinely, honestly believe this system's here to stay, just with a different personnel in the end.
Yeah. More than likely.
This is what will happen for me anyway. And it could be for the Champions League. Vegas, how do you coach centre-backs when defending a 9 like Haaland? What position of your centre-backs you know when to take? See, I've never had anyone like Haaland.
Never.
I had someone like Aguero, and I had someone who was like Mbappe, pace merchant.
Let me try to answer that question. It's impossible. I'm lucky to have a striker, not like Haaland, but the same kind of physicality, strength, and finishing. Kid is deadly, right? You just can't. You just can't. Just deny them the ball. Just don't get the ball. Make sure they don't get the ball. Whatever you do, because if he gets the ball and it's close to the box, more than likely it's a goal. That's why he has 31 goals in 29 games or something ridiculous like that. With my kid, they get the ball, bang, it's a goal. It's just you just can't stop it. It's a goal.
Yeah. What the trouble is with Haaland, what you got to remember is, what do you do with Haaland? You put 2 on him, you put 3 on him, because then what you got to realize is you're leaving gaps in other areas.
Correct.
So it's what do you do? This is the beauty of Haaland. What we've got to learn is how we get the ball to the goal machine, other than Kevin De Bruyne. This is what we've got to figure out. We've got to figure out the correct way of getting Haaland involved in the game to score his goals other than Kevin De Bruyne. This is where others need to step up. Pepper said it, they've got to step up now. We don't have a David Silva anymore.
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva's not really that player that's going to unpick tight defenses. When anyone plays Manchester City, it's a low blocker, a back five, and you don't move.
Yeah.
And also, they're going to play the best game they've ever had.
Correct.
Look at
Right.
Everton. Everton come to the Etihad, and you thought it was the Champions League final for them. The week after, they got smacked at home 4-1.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Everybody's going to do that against us.
They're going to come and play like it's their cup final day. We are now the big fish they all want to beat.
Well, and this is weird because, think about the games that Arsenal have played against Newcastle and Everton, right? They've also employed the same mentality that, okay, you're top of the league. We are going to play our best game against you. Newcastle at the Emirates, and then Arsenal at Everton. And they got points. When clubs twerk for Arsenal and don't bunker in, they get smacked. When clubs play to their level, to their max, they give them a good game.
Yeah. And Charlie, you put what teams close up the midfield where we can't feed the ball to Haaland. Exactly what Arsenal did. And then you see Ortega just to go long.
Yep.
Now that may happen on Wednesday night. But the difference is it isn't going to be Ortega putting the ball. It's going to be Edison. What do Arsenal let? Because Arsenal will probably employ the exact same. You know what? You are spot on. Because that's, like I said, with the midfield, it's a linchpin. So everyone now thinks we close in the midfield. How are they getting the ball to Haaland? What was annoying with Tottenham was they did what they did, and we didn't even have KDB on the pitch. So you sat there going, who's going to actually feed the ball to Haaland here?
Mm-hmm.
That was where the frustrating thing for me is who's feeding this ball to Haaland now? Because Haaland's not going to come back to get it. That is the biggest problem. And this is why Pep keeps saying, I need you to step up.
Well, let's take the Arsenal, Charlie. That's a great comment. Let's take the Arsenal one to talk tactically. If Arsenal want to go man-to-man against City again on Wednesday, if you notice in that game, what Ortega was trying to do was ping the ball to Erling Haaland right behind the defender between their goalkeeper and Haaland and the defender that was marking him. And what Arsenal were doing was that the goalkeeper was playing high so that any ball that was kicked in error, the goalkeeper gets the ball. Now, what Edison does very well is that he won't play the ball directly to the goalkeeper. He's going to bend that ball in behind the other center back to the right or to the left.
Yeah.
Which means the goalkeeper has to make a choice. Do I come out far left or far right? Because if I lose that ball, Erling is in. This is what he does. When Edison kicks the ball, it's never just kind of straight. He always bends it. Right? When he plays that ball in behind, he always bends it right or bends it left.
The player to bend their run.
Exactly.
No player runs straight.
Exactly. What Ortega was doing was playing the ball straight.
Anyway. You shouldn't run straight in lines.
Ortega was playing the ball straight, so that means that the goalkeeper for Arsenal could get the ball because he's playing a high line, right?
Yeah.
But what Edison will do, and Arteta will know this, he's going to bend the ball left or right because his left foot is going to swing that ball, which means that Erling Haaland will go right or go left, and then the keeper has to make a choice. Do I stay? Because if I go left and there's a big hole, bang, the ball's going to be in.
Yeah. And also, if you are doing that, well, what was Rob Holding doing? Rob Holding was all over him, left, right, and centre, and should have really been sent off.
Yeah.
So you're having to. There's two ways you look at that then, because there is a way of doing it. Because we've also got to actually respect other teams and realise that other teams have actually got better. And do you not think they send scouts to watch us as well? They watch videos and they watch scouts and they watch what we do.
Yeah.
And like someone said, like Charlie said, close down the midfield. How are they getting the ball to Haaland if KDB's not there? The trouble is, we know KDB can't play week in, week out like he does. He can't do that anymore. So, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. What I'd like to see now and again is mix it up with Alvarez. Throw Alvarez as the 9.
Yeah.
And sometimes throw the chaos in.
Yeah. I even say, play him wide.
Yeah. It's a tricky one because I don't ever see Grealish coming out because Grealish does exactly what he wants. And then it's you drop Mahrez. And this is and do you know what it is a lot of? It's down to the creativity. I only sat and realised this earlier on when I was prepping for this. Thought, KDB, right, take KDB out. Where's your other creation? Mahrez, Grealish is starting to chip in with assists now. Do you take those 2 out? And then where do you go? Because Gundogan's not really going to assist. Bernardo likes to play deeper. Rodri's not going to assist. Where do you sort of go?
They all have to get better, Martin.
This is part of the problem. It's I mean, now if you said to me, can we get Foden back singing and flying? Yeah, but that's again, and do you know what? This is why Pep's talked about attitude and players wanting it. Pep Guardiola wants these players. He wants Foden to go, come on, right, I'm ready. He wants De Bruyne, I'm ready. Mahrez, he wants all that. But if they're not ready or they're not willing to do it, I don't know what you do. It's a majorly tricky one.
Yeah.
It really is. And I get the frustration with fans. I mean, Slime says, we don't pass the ball to Haaland at all, even though he makes the run 3,000 times. It's really frustrating. It feels so horrible to watch. Yes, but I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying because you're thinking of the West Ham game when KDB played that ball through for Haaland to run onto. I'm presuming that's what it means, isn't it, KARL? He's looking at that West Ham game where he played the ball through.
Yeah. But that's the first game of the season. The Haaland factor was clear. West Ham didn't know what to expect. And we picked them off twice. Teams will adapt.
Yeah. And SOS, I know exactly what you're talking about there because I remember that perfectly. He turned around and he went backwards. And that was because there was only Haaland there. And it's you've got to be pitch perfect with that pass because if it breaks down, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, Pep said it, he won't just throw balls in for throwing balls in. You've got to be, I mean, I think Pep said it, I think it was after one of the Wolves games, if you're going to do that, you have to score. Because if you don't, they're going to break on you.
Yep, they're going to break on you, transition, and then it's problems. And even for me, Martin, that's my fear, is that if I lose control, I get done in the transition. You know why, Martin? Because there's a whole lot of space behind my back line, just like there is for City, right? That's the weakness, that space in the back line. That's the fear. That's why you want to control the game, because you play a high line, right? And you have all that grass behind Edison and the back three that you're scared of losing control.
Yeah. And I think someone mentioned it earlier about the defense, the injuries to defense haven't helped because we've not had a settled back line to do it. What we've got to hope for, I mean, do we need more competition on the wings? Maybe not a direct winger, but yes, we need more people in. 100% we do. But we're not just going to fly in and buy anybody. We're going to buy people at the right time. And generally, it'll be the summertime when City do all their business because that's when you get the better deals.
Mm-hmm.
In January, you're paying sky-high prices,
Mhm,
and you're not getting value for money.
mhm.
And City will only do stuff with value for money. City won't just go out and spend silly willy-nilly. They won't do that. Phoebe's put Charlie, Palmer, Alvarez. I don't think Palmer's ready, if I'm honest. Sadly.
Yeah.
About you, Carl, do you think?
He's not. He's not. He's shown that he's not ready to step up. He's not. He's not ready yet. I don't know what's going. Maybe it's the injury that he had. He's just not. He's just not ready to win.
Growing
Yeah. Yeah.
as well. I really don't want anyone in the summer. Really?
He's
So
trolling.
you're on the wind up there, FIFA.
He's
Like
trolling.
the point made earlier about teams are getting better and wiser. And you know what? That's sometimes we have to hold our hands up and go, yeah. Arsenal are on course right now to do Centurions or close to it. You just got to hold your hands up and go, you know what? They're playing bloody good.
Yeah.
Can they be caught? 100%.
Yeah. And Martin, we have to, as City fans, right? We have to be fair. Arsenal are overperforming. I tell my Arsenal fans, kudos to you. You're overperforming. If you win it, kudos to you. Right? But let's be clear. City are still second, 5 points behind.
Yeah.
Better than 18 other teams. Can we beat Arsenal? Yes, we can. Can we win the title? Yes, we can. Lots of time left. If Arsenal win it, kudos to them. We shake hands, we go again. Maybe not shake hands anymore because they went to they went to UEFA and the Premier League. But
yeah, I don't think there'll be a lot of shaking hands.
Yeah.
Why not? I just believe. I think there'll be 4 or 5 players in the summer, mate. I think there'll be a busy summer. Now more than ever, the club needs our backing. 1000%. Palmer will go on loan. No worries, Pat. When we're playing the ball too early, we need to pull defences out of mid-pitch and towards the wings. Otherwise, the routes are closed more often than not. And that's what the opposition will always do to us. They will close down our roads
quickly.
Yeah, they're gonna. If I'm a coach and I know what their game plan is and I know what their point is,
Yeah,
because everyone knows we're trying to get the ball to Erling Haaland.
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying sometimes maybe when Alvarez comes on, if you notice, that's where the chaos, as KARL calls it, comes in.
The one thing that frustrates me the most, though, I will say, is Mahrez coming back on his left foot when there's grass right by his right side. It frustrates, but I get it. That's a control issue.
Do you think some players have to be a bit braver?
They have to be. Jack has been braver in the past couple of games, Martin. Clearly, the Jack Grealish we see now is not the Jack we saw at the start of the season. Neither is the Jack Grealish that we saw last season. Right? And I reckon he plays tomorrow against his old team. I think he's ready.
I think it'll be very interesting on Sunday, that team. I'll be honest with you, I think we blitz Villa no matter what, because I think everything will just burn out on Sunday. Everything will just come to a big crescendo. And I honestly think I'm expecting a very good week. I'm expecting Villa and Arsenal to be positive results. Does that mean we're going to win the league? I don't know. But I think we'll win the next 2, simply because I think what's happened this week has lit a fire under us and has got us going. And do you know what? It may give us that tempo back. It may give certain players who need a kick up the rear end that kick up the rear end they need.
Yeah, I hope so.
But we don't know. But at the end of the day, we're not saying there's not a problem. The major problem is we don't have the personnel right now. So what you do is you go with what you can do. We get to the summer, then we change it. But at the end of the day, some players need to step up. They need to fight. We can't be relying on one person to do all the creativity. Anyway, KARL, do you want anything you want to say before we end?
This has been an amazing discussion with you, Martin. I've really enjoyed talking. And guys, this is how we talk sometimes when he calls me late at night and I call him late at night. We talk about stuff like this, coaching, tactical stuff, the team, what we see, what we don't like, what we like. how we can improve our frustrations, our joy. Subscribe to the channel. Get Mancunian Way all the way to 2,000. Start subscribing, like it, leave your comments, your questions.
This is the great. Before we jump, superior being, I don't really get why the midfield and front line can't be tactically adaptable and drop a little deeper if more space is needed for Haaland.
That's a fair question. That's a very fair question. I've wondered that myself sometimes. Why don't we just play on transition? I think we will in the Champions League, mate.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking, you know what? I'm starting to believe this system will look better in the Champions League. Because you're not going to get, when you play Real Madrid, you're not going to get a flat back five who don't move. They're not going to do that to you.
Yeah.
When you play Bayern Munich, they're not going to play a flat back five. This is what you're going to get a more open game. And this is when chances KDB will get more space. Great. There's more spaces appear. Chelsea game away. Pep went with what he thought the fans wanted, and then he went, no, I want my control back. Thanks very much. What you need is, also, another thing we've got to remember as fans is we don't always have to rely on Haaland. Other players have to take gambles into the back post.
Yeah.
A.k.a. Mahrez at Chelsea.
Exactly.
Use Haaland as your decoy. Because if they've got their eyes on Haaland, they haven't got the eyes on somebody else coming in.
You're open. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, you can also use Haaland as a distraction. Anyway, mate, we've just done over an hour, and I don't want to.
Absolutely.
Now everyone's coming in.
Fun.
Like I said, I have put pitch points and True City fan links in the description. So go and give them a lot of love. Go and smash their subscribe button. And they did a good video earlier on the Pep. They did one last night on Erling Haaland. About Erling Haaland, the problem.
Yeah.
It's quite intriguing.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting. They say he's a problem. I don't think he's a problem. I think he's a solution.
No. He's not the problem. He will be the solution. We just it's like I said, the jigsaw puzzle's not quite complete.
Yeah.
Just let us get it complete. Let us get it completed.
And we shall see.
If you are going down on Sunday, please just rip raw everything around. Let's get behind. Me, KARL, Don't Smoke, Pat, we were on about an hour and a half ago talking about the press conference. If you haven't watched the press conference yet, please go and watch it.
It's incredible.
If you need to get pumped up for Sunday, that's what you need.
Incredible press conference. Just incredible.
No worries, mate. I just appreciate KARL coming on for his
anytime, man.
Experience of coaching. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we'll be back Sunday with a post-match of Villa. There'll be nothing tomorrow. I'm having the day off. And then on Monday, I might have a gal coming on to do the Arsenal preview, which will be interesting. Looking forward to getting him on. I'm booked out for the next loads of days. I think I'm going to be on Pat's and KARL's channel. If they do anything, I've got 9320 Pubcast on Sunday night with Andy Savage, which I'll be on that. I will post that on Twitter. I've also got the preview for Arsenal. Then there'll be a post-match. There's not going to be a watch-along. I'm watching it with my father on Wednesday. So there won't be a watch-along. But yes, there's loads of content on the channel.
Yep.
There's loads of other Blues out there throwing out content. Us Blues, let's stay together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's ignore all the crap you're hearing outside.
You know, Martin, talking about that, one last point is, in my mind today, and I talked about this on Pat's channel, it's irrelevant what a United fan thinks about my club. It's irrelevant to me. Couldn't care less. Chelsea fan, what you think about my club is irrelevant. What's relevant to me is what other Blues think about our club. It's about how they feel, how we're doing, how we're not doing well, you know, how it affects them, positively or negatively. What can I do to help them? That's what matters to me. I don't care what a United fan says. None of my business. None of their business.
No.
So we need.
And you're never going to get us. You're never going to get a a fair view.
There are a few people. There are a few, rival fans who give you a chance to make your point, and I think Abdullahi's one. Abdullahi, the guy at the Blue Studio.
Yeah.
He's a very fair guy. He would listen to you, but many others, they couldn't care less.
You've got to remember these big YouTube accounts. It's a business. It's a job. They're not going to get clicks and likes with Manchester City may be innocent. Let's give them a fair crack. They're going to get all of it on City guilty and everything else. And everyone, like I said, he's a £2 lawyer. Let's just, stick together. This is where Blues come together. And we'll say, stick like we did in the dark days. Exactly. Alban says, should we try Alvarez on the wing? KARL answered that earlier on. Let's ignore the noise from the haters and bring our greater true noise. Exactly. City till we die. Anyway, KARL, you've been superb. Thank you for your time, mate.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Links are in there. We'll see you on Sunday for the post-match to Oh, no, sorry. I will be live from the ground on Sunday.
And I may have Martin on my show to talk about Champions League, this week's Champions League. If he has time, we'll have him on to talk about some of the games, some of the people we can face, hopefully in the quarterfinals and semifinals, if he's available.
Yeah, no, I'll go on anyone's show. All Blues together, me, mate. I'll support. I'll be there. Don't you worry. Might not be on camera, but I'll be there.
Like me.
But yeah, no, thank you. I'll be live from the ground on Sunday for the entrance, for the coach and everything. Hoping Wi-Fi sticks, but I will be live then as well. So yeah, take care. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you Sunday. Take care, Blues.